this thing actually pops up on the tweeter. And then we'll retweet once it actually goes live. All right, we are in fact live. That's pretty cool. So it's 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, which means it must be Bitcoin time. Same Bitcoin
I think it's
time.
Bitcoin time.
Same Bitcoin Twitter.
That's right.
Also, YouTube. We're live on YouTube. Can't forget YouTube. So Stephen, you don't look too hungover from the Orange County Give Bitcoin holiday party last night. Look okay?
It was the perfect amount of fun. Fun, but not too much. Yeah.
Well, we have a celebrity in town. Bitcoiners know this gentleman with the best top knot in Bitcoin, Brandon Quittem, Mr. Mycelium himself.
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show. We're
Welcome,
mobile.
Brandon.
I decided to bring the production studio, aka my laptop, all the way down to Santa Monica to meet up with Brandon. I didn't want to do this one remote since he happens to be in town. Why are you more tan than me?
I don't think I am.
Are you not? I don't know. I think
It's close.
Flex off the snow in Minnesota or something like that. So you guys have never met in person. I know.
I think we shook hands at Bitcoin 2019 briefly in the chaos whirlwind that it was, but no, we haven't really hung out yet.
Yeah, man, I should have went down last night.
It is very cool to have you on here though, and be able to do this.
Well, Stephen, ask him a few questions because I'm actually going to go and just blast this out real quick on some tweeters and some telegrams and spread the word for 2 minutes while you guys get to know each other. And then we have
Sounds
some
good.
want to hit, chief among them, Jack Dorsey's full red pilling by Bitcoin.
Very timely. Yeah, good stuff.
You can
So
actually start
Brandon,
there if you want, whatever you want.
yeah, well, I'll kind of start with what brings you to Southern California for the week? I know you're out for about a week, right?
Yeah, a little
Midwest?
over. I have a lot of friends here, and one of those friends is going back home to the Midwest to visit some family, and they have a couple of cute dogs that need some attention. And so, yeah, that was the impetus. They're like, hey, you can stay at our place, keep an eye on the dogs. And then I work with a few people here, and so it's nice to just catch up with some clients and some friends, and might as well. Yeah, now we've got Bitcoin things lined up, and yeah, I love LA. So easy for me to get out of the winter, all the factors.
Nice. A lot of good to it. Yeah, that's been kind of a cool realization of mine over the last year as I've started to go meet more Bitcoiners in person, is just how much of a, national network we've got. Like, I feel like if I go to Chicago or San Francisco or New York, it's like there are people out there who you may never have met in person, but probably down to hang out, recommend spots, and, make you feel welcome.
Yeah, and there's this uncanny ability to be friends right away, right?
Totally.
Values are mostly aligned. You have a lot of the same interests. You sort of feel alienated from mainstream culture in some capacity, and you see someone like yourself, and yeah. But that's
You're like when you have that core stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, that reminds me, you're doing a meetup as well back in, is it Minnesota that you're from?
Yeah, exactly. In Minneapolis, we do a monthly casual meetup there. We actually have a core group of cypherpunk ethos Bitcoiners there that I was surprised to discover. And if anyone's considering a meetup, like in Minneapolis, there's a dozen shitcoin meetups and blockchain, whatever meetups. And I went to all of them looking for good people. And, there's a few in there, but it's mostly just nonsense. And then I host a Bitcoiners meetup, throw it on Twitter or whatever. And all of a sudden, all these badass people come out of the woodwork and they're like, thank you for doing this. And so, yeah, that was really reassuring. And now we have a core group of people that meet once a month. And we've got some spin-offs coming where we'll do like an education series, get on Wasabi or book club, Bitcoin book club, or eat some steaks and drink whiskey club.
Beautiful.
All that stuff's coming. So, yeah.
All the essentials. Nice. That's cool to hear. And it parallels my experience down here in Orange County as well, because I went to a bunch of cryptocurrency and blockchain meetup, like all the things that were available on meetup.com, and just didn't find anything really with rich Bitcoin content. And so started something small, and it was like 4 or 5 people at a brewery on the first iteration. And now we're getting like 30 or 50 people. It's cool to see how quickly a community can grow, right?
Definitely.
I went through something very similar because I really wanted to work for a Bitcoin company, and there really weren't any. Or there's just like a handful, and they weren't in LA. And I was like, okay, I guess we got to make one.
Yep.
If you want to work on it all day, you kind of have to create your own company right now, unless you happen to be in Austin.
For sure. Yeah, Austin's getting a high concentration of quality Bitcoiners.
Yeah, I'm just going to start telling people that I live in West Austin. It's like about 1,800 miles west of Austin.
Love it.
Network effects are strong.
Yeah, I feel like Austin's Citadel game is going to be strong.
Yeah. So let's hit this and just kind of like brainstorm a little bit on like what this might mean with Twitter moving to a protocol that like Twitter app runs on top of. I mean, that's just kind of mind blowing and amazing and cool, and kind of what you were just saying, which I totally have obviously been saying for a long time too. Like it's always should have been that way, and it is how it was kind of conceived. But like, what could that mean? What could that mean in general, and what could that mean for Bitcoin?
Man, I feel like Bitcoin could really be a key element of, like, now that Bitcoin exists, I feel like this becomes more feasible, right? Like for something to be done successfully as an open communications protocol becomes more feasible because you can more easily incentivize the right behaviors. If you can kind of weave economics, money into the protocol, then you can, perhaps prevent some denial of service vectors, or at least encourage people to behave certain ways and reward them without having to like have some proprietary system that knows who they are and what their email address is or bank account, all those things.
That's super interesting. So like taking that a click deeper, like having, a couple of sats, as a gating factor or as a reward for different things that might even be automated. So it's not even things that somebody would be deciding to do, but something that a service or a plugin into it would have some cost associated or some kind of reward that would stack up or seriously hurt you over time if you were doing it the wrong way.
Yeah, and I don't know how much, if any of that, like with Bitcoin or monetary rewards specifically, is on their radar, but it certainly jumps to mind for me. Even if it's not, I think an open protocol is better and interesting, and love seeing, just philosophically, Jack seems to be woke on all this stuff. And so it's cool to see him leading the charge.
I think Jack is Neo.
Yeah, he's the closest we've got to Neo. Yeah,
I think so. And I think Bitcoin is Morpheus. In that together they will like take us out of the matrix, and the matrix is like centralizing, dominating 1984 Chinese Communist Party stuff.
Yeah.
If you think about Jack as a CEO of a publicly traded company that has a lot of eyes on him, and the fact that he's going to cannibalize his own business potentially is truly admirable. It's very rare to see the innovator's dilemma.
No. Investors in Twitter, and especially your board and everything, this is going to like 100x the value of Twitter. Just be on board with this. Trust me, it will totally work out, and you'll be kabillion trillionaires for sure. Definitely. No cannibalization.
Let Jack do whatever he wants to do.
Let him do whatever he wants to do.
Let's call it a defensive play, anticipating a future innovation that makes Twitter obsolete. And now Jack will be the one who creates the thing that would maybe or maybe not make Twitter obsolete.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Facebook is going to be, I think they're at like 2.4 billion. They'll be over 3 billion in a year or two across their different, Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter's still in the 350 million, something like that. So if you can become this protocol that people actually trust, and most people don't like Facebook, and if they could innovate on top of somebody else's platform and monetize, how they want to or not, and you can just basically have like a smaller piece of a much bigger pie. That pie could be so much bigger than what Facebook is. Like we could be talking like, 5, 10, 20 trillion of enterprise value created by a protocol, the way that crew could actually design something, especially integrating, eCash.
Yep.
As always originally concepted by the creators of the internet. Now it exists. Twitter could easily be more valuable as the facilitator of that, and finding different ways to add value and services and just different revenue streams supporting that ecosystem than they are today. Definitely. Certainly more lasting and more important. So in the long term, I think it's a great play.
And
Huge
then
potential upside.
they can shift resources away from things like legal PR nightmares about censorship or people getting attacked on the platform. Just remove all that, and that's all taken care of by the protocol. And then Twitter just lives on the protocol, and they say, we're a private company, here's the rules in Twitter's world. And then you can have Twitter 2 with slightly different rules, and they all leverage the same protocol. And that protocol will get better and fully integrated in the internet. And Twitter obviously has the users, the expertise. They're going to have an insight into how it's built, so they're going to be best positioned to capture that front end.
That's a really great point. Yeah, they can kind of try to bake thing like criteria or incentives, whatever you have, into the protocol itself, and make these centralized groups of human beings at the Twitter offices no longer judge, jury, and executioner of like people's online social presence.
Totally, which is impossible. You can't manage it, just like you can't manage an economy. There's too much data, and our simple linear brains can't process it. And so let's outsource that to the machines.
Totally.
So go blue sky for a sec and toss out some ideas of like, how could Bitcoin play in that ecosystem? Obviously, there's like sending Bitcoin over the Twitter protocol, like to and from each other. We talked about, incentivizing or malincenting, good and bad behavior. Like, what else? It's going to be a lightning fest.
Oh, totally. Yeah. If you can weave Lightning micropayments, like low latency payments into it, then I'm sure the use cases just flourish on top of that. But I mean, fundamentally, it's just cool how Bitcoin separates like identity from payments, right? Before, you had to kind of know someone's real identity, address, or at least some account at a bank, who then knows that information to pay them. And now that you can separate those two things, then it opens up possibilities like we saw announced on Twitter this morning, where Square Crypto can fund a pseudonymous developer who they don't know his real identity, not even sure what country he's in, and they can reward him for doing work they think is valuable. And the implications of that are mind-blowing.
It's so sick. I mean, honestly, we were not going to do a referral program for Give Bitcoin until we saw all of the development on Lightning this year and realized like, oh, that's easy now. Now we can actually like incentivize the entire world by splitting half our fees and let anybody around the world, we're US only for receiving like the transactions, but anyone around the world can, go on their social channel and like try to get people in the US to buy Bitcoin. So if you're, sitting in Chiang Mai or Caracas or whatever, and you can help market Bitcoin, you can monetize and we'll pay you out in Satoshis.
Totally.
So that needs to be on a Trello card, Stephen. That's what we're doing, but not until March, April. We got some stuff to do before then. But
Consider it done.
Yeah. It's awesome. Go ahead.
Yeah, when I think about how Bitcoin integrates with open source communication protocol like Twitter, two things. One, I heard that there are some people, I'm not sure where I heard this, somewhere in the Bitcoin knowledge sphere, but they're talking about how Lightning is just a communications platform, so you could build messaging on top of Lightning. And so I'm not sure if that is an angle Jack's considering. I think he just wants to throw smart people in a black box and let them figure out what to do. But I think that's number one, really interesting. I'm curious, whoever had those ideas, let's play out this conversation on Twitter, please. Second is, I'm not sure if Bitcoin will be integrated in the communications platform, but it's kind of another tool in the take back our sovereignty toolkit, right? If we can communicate freely, that is a foundational principle to having an open society, right? It's mandatory. You can see all the closed societies where they close down communications, they take away your weapons, and then people are sort of screwed. And so having this global communications platform that can't be censored, that's massive. That's like just foundational human level. We have to have that, just like we have to have a global money. Those just make humans better. And if you think about those as building blocks, we can build more complex systems on top of those and more or less unlock the human ability, right? There's certain things that hold us back, and let's get those out of the way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Are we bullish on humans?
I think I'm bullish humanity.
I'm bullish on
Yeah.
Definitely.
Like we're
Thanks,
not
Jack.
the first people to talk about this, but we haven't talked about it specifically like on this show about basically that Bitcoin has allowed a growing generation of people to live a life of definite optimism in the way that Peter Thiel drew it out in 0 to 1. And you know, I was definitely like sort of like indefinite pessimist, like the exact opposite quadrant, until I went down the rabbit hole. And now it's like, okay, we know the direction we're rowing in. We're mission driven. You know, everyone that's into Bitcoin kind of like pushing in the same direction, and we kind of know that it's going to be broadly positive. And how much better you sleep and how much better you spend your time because of that. And it seems to have infected Jack completely.
Yeah, and I love it. And that mirrors my experience quite well too. Like 2005 to 2008, I was really politically active and just trying to pour a lot of energy into changing the system from within in ways that I thought were important, and quickly became disenchanted and frustrated with how difficult it is to do that, and realized, you know, I don't think the system's gonna let people change it in big, fundamental, important ways. And then 2000, you know, a few years later, discover this Bitcoin thing and see the potential to maybe change by moving to a different system. Kind of gives you the ability to exit, and that was huge for me.
I hear you, man. I had the exact same experience. Like caring about our culture, our community, our government, whatever, trying to make change there, and wasting so much energy. And why would we waste all our mental cycles on a system that I believe can't be saved? And then all of a sudden you see this beacon of hope that also attracts a bunch of other interesting people. Of course, let's go.
Yeah.
LFG, BTC. Awesome. So we're coming toward the end of 2019. It's a good time to kind of think back on what's happened in Bitcoin. And what I wanted to kick to you guys is what has been the winning meme or theme of the year for Bitcoin?
Man, to me, it's Bitcoin fixes this.
Bitcoin fixes this?
Yeah. I mean, there's some great contenders. The Bitcoin Twitter meme game is strong, but to me, Bitcoin fixes this. I've even seen meetup groups start to pop up. There's one in OC that was created like within the last few days titled, "Does Bitcoin Fix This?" And it's a group of people who apparently are just going to get together like every couple weeks and
each
talk
category
about
of things that's fucked up and see whether or how Bitcoin could fix this.
Yeah. So Bitcoin fixes this for me.
So I like that one because it really fires up the base, right? It charges the existing community. I guess I'm curious if you think that one plays well outside of the community, or if that's not even important. Because most people outside the community roll their eyes when they see that, and they're right from their perspective, right? They can't possibly understand Bitcoin to see how it may or may not fix that. And so I'm curious if you think that, before I answer, do you think that matters?
Can I answer?
Please.
I'll relate it. So if you give a new coiner the Bitcoin standard, they're going to kind of dig like the first third of the book and the last third of the book, and they're just going to like kind of vomit over the middle chapters and be like, this guy bullshit. And then if they get into Bitcoin and then they go back and read it like a year later after really immersing themselves in Bitcoin, then their favorite chapters are the middle chapters, which is like all the Bitcoin fixes this stuff. Because you can't see the problem until you understand like the problem with money. I mean, it's the reason why, you know, obviously we're working hard on the Gift of Bitcoin, the 12 chapter book for all of our new coiners from the Give Bitcoin platform. And, you know, chapter 2 is like what's wrong with money or the problem with money. And until you understand all the negative effects of money printing willy-nilly all through the global system and just how that rots so many different things, it's hard to see that anything needs fixing. You have a vague sense that something's wrong, and it's why The Matrix was a popular movie, and it's why Rage Against the Machine is still reuniting again in a few months, you know, because like we need that shit and we don't know what's wrong with the system. But once you see through this lens of classical economics, and the fact that the founding fathers all talked about the evils of letting banks print money, and that it needs to be sound money outside of their control. And we can just go back to the first 99% of civilization's history and leave aside this horrible experiment of the last 100 years. Bitcoin does actually fix this.
I'm on board. We have this.
I think that's spot on. It's to your point, Brandon. Yeah, there are so many dots.
I just got possessed by Haas for a minute.
You're channeling some of the Friar right here. I love it.
Yeah, I've got my frock and everything.
But yeah, there are so many non-obvious dots to connect in order to figure out and see how Bitcoin does fix this, that I agree, to people who are not deep into the space, it can just seem like this annoying, like, what are you talking about kind of meme they can shrug off. So I think if you do use the meme on someone or in the presence of someone who doesn't understand that, then a thoughtful explanation, is nice to go alongside that. But once you see it, then yeah, you can't unsee it. Like, it's like those glasses from the movies They Live, the 80s movies, if you guys saw that. Like, well, yeah, once you have those glasses on and you look around and you can see that some of these people are like the Walking Dead or aliens, whatever it was, then there's no going back.
That reference had about as broad a reach as Bitcoin fixes this.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna posit that so I think there are a lot of different things that have been said and have been written this year that actually kind of fit under Bitcoin as a savings technology. And that's really kind of the result of, UASF and winning the battle over cheap payments and, Bcash and all of these other things. And then all of the books and podcasts, the new ones coming out in 2018, and sort of reaching like peak Bitcoin education this year, prepping for the next bull run so that hopefully we can catch all the new coiners before they start shit coining.
Totally.
And I think it's true. I mean, and it really fits with, how Murad sees things and, stock to flow and all these different things, like Bitcoin store value first. Of course, it's not going to be widely used as at a medium of exchange until it's a lot larger and more stable. Even though it certainly has its uses today, important ones. You look at, the ways that, people are using Bitcoin to earn money mining World of Warcraft gold and Caracas and then exchanging that for dollars and pesos, because that's the medium of exchange locally. Colombian pesos and dollars, but at least they can earn in Bitcoin. And you're seeing like what this amazing article Alborg put out, basically dissecting how Paxful is enabling this whole Bitcoin economy in Nigeria. And just that is fascinating when you grok it. And it's like, it's real and it's legit. And there's like 4 different players in that ecosystem, and none of them really give a shit about Bitcoin, but Bitcoin makes it all happen and makes it all work. And it works with the existing system of gift cards and convenience stores in the US, and then like selling those gift cards on Amazon because of the arb of being able to buy something on Amazon with a cheap gift card or a gift card that you bought or less. And basically what it means, as people in different countries around the world understand exactly what they're doing in Nigeria, the most you can basically the efficient markets now dictate, because this system exists and you can copy it in any country around the world, the biggest delta between your real market rate for your currency and your the black market rate for your currency and the government official rate, the most that can be now is 20 to 25%. It can never be more than that. Bitcoin has already provided this crazy check on currency controls, because there's a way that you can just use the internet and gift cards and Paxful to stop that from happening and arb that away. It's just awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, total aside, back to Bitcoin as a savings technology. Yeah, we've been talking a lot about that on our side, and just kind of realizing how much that resonates with people, and how, basically there's just no easy way in the United States other than buried deep in Coinbase to just take some of your money out of your bank account automatically every month and buy Bitcoin. And how crazy that is.
I agree. I think that's the best. I think that's the best external facing meme from 2019 is focusing on savings technology.
Yeah.
I think most people inherently feel the consumer culture and they feel the treadmill, and they're not psyched about where their investments are. And so if you give people the opportunity to do that on a weekly, monthly basis, that's a really positive force. And people understand that. Like, it's baked into our biology to save. Yeah. Culture can trick us into not doing that, but deep down inside, it's instinctive. And so I think that's huge externally. And that focuses what Bitcoin is for too. It's for people. It's not for payments. You're not competing with Visa. This is just a outside the system parallel economy that is for savings. It's also for, pushing against poor monetary policy in other countries, but mostly it's for savings. So I think that's the best external meme. I think internally, charging the base or being supportive internally, I still think stacking sats or stay humble, stack sats. I think that's still the most.
Did that start in calendar year 2019?
That's a good question. Probably not.
Ooh, I don't know.
I think
It might have been. I don't know. I don't know when their Square sponsorship started. It was either late last year or early this year. And Matt Odell came up with it, right?
Matt Odell came up with it. Yeah.
He was kind of for the Square campaign, but community property.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It might have
I
been.
think it's like the headline on Lolly and bidder in the EU, and like everybody uses it, that's just, thanks, Matt. Thanks for great news.
The right thing though, right? Especially in a bear market or in any situation, our emotions get the best of us and we make poor decisions. And it's really easy to be a hyperbull when you insulate yourself with Bitcoin Twitter and the surrounding communities. And so having a way to just center yourself or have like a responsible baseline, just stay humble and stack your sats and the rest is out of your control. That kind of mentality, I think, is really important. And everywhere you go, like you say that and people nod their head and smile, like that definitely connects us. And so to me, that's definitely the most powerful.
Yeah, definitely still internal navel gazing though.
For sure.
Because stacking sats doesn't mean anything to a no coiner, or a pre-coiner, I should say. Like everybody's eventually a Bitcoiner.
I will say the one thing I like about stacking sats is that it kind of starts to psychologically, get towards denominating things in sats rather than BTC. And I think there is still that barrier to entry mentally with people, right? Where they're like, I don't want to invest if I can't own a whole unit of something. And if this goes the way we expect, then maybe in 10 or 20 years, that will look as silly as not having wanted to like grab some gold pebbles laying on the ground because you couldn't afford like a whole gold brick, or a ton of gold. So I think in the future, denominating things in sats, thinking in sats, that just helps psychologically onboard a lot of new people and make them comfy.
Yeah.
100%.
Give me a 50% chance it's later than the state, 50% chance it's earlier than the state, where you can go, maybe not 180 countries, but like 120 countries around the world and be able to purchase goods and services that are priced in the local currency and in sats.
Oh, that's the dream.
You need multiple penetration. You need Lightning app user experience and onboarding.
You don't need any of that. You need them to be able to price the goods and services in sats. They don't have to be able to take your money out.
Okay.
You didn't necessarily have gold when you were in, Vietnam in 1890, but they knew how to price the goods in their local currency and in gold.
Got it. So unit of account, medium exchange can be whatever.
Yeah.
We all understand that this is the most important ledger to hoard.
Yeah, and it's just the one that makes it easier to communicate value. And it's widely known enough, like what a sat is worth in your local currency, that you're able to do the quick calculation.
Yeah, but I think it happens earliest in the countries that have the most volatility in their local currency, perhaps, right? Because if you think about why people are attracted to a unit of account, it's often just that stability factor, right? And so that's why it's typically the latest stage of the progression. Like going back to the chart that Murad made, there's kind of store of value where money's flowing in, it's finding, there's that big price discovery curve. And then medium of exchange becomes more practical along the way, or at least medium of wealth transfer. And then ultimately, the top of that hill, once it's leveled out, is unit of account. So maybe it happens some places sooner than others if your Bolivar or Lira is going crazy. But yeah, that could be a 10-year thing. I don't know.
I think that's kind of what I'm getting at. You know, you read, obviously, like reading more Austrians over the past few years and kind of looking at it. It is a little deceptive. It's easy to see a chart like that, and I obviously love that. And Murad's an investor in our company, and love Murad. But it does simplify it a little too much and make it seem linear, whereas it's actually all of those things right now for certain use cases. It's just more of a store of value now. And I guess what I'm getting at is, like, I think there's a chance that that unit of account kind of happens like alongside or a lot earlier than many people are supposing, against medium of exchange. Like so my 50-50 date is probably something like 2033. Like, I think we're like, you know, 12 to 15 years away from being able to go most places in the world and having goods and services, having them able to quote you a price in sats most places you go and most places around the world.
Yeah. When I think of this problem, I think about, is this the black market situation here, or is this sanctioned by the state that you're in?
I don't think it'll be sanctioned by most of those states.
Yeah, that was my thing. If it's going to be the black market rate, like the people know they want Bitcoin, but the state says no, I'm on board with that timeline.
Yeah.
If it has to be all the nation states or 2/3 capitulate, we might have to push that out a little bit.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, sometime in the like 10 to 15 year range.
Recognize.
I think that's step one of capitulation, right?
What, in the words of Michael Goldstein, what was it? They will submit.
That's interesting. I mean, I just like, you've got to fight the battle on both fronts. You know, we talk about this a lot in our shows and appearances. You got to fight the battle and make sure that Bitcoin is like inoculated against government aggression, and that is very much like a head-on battle. But then you also have to kind of like work with existing systems and try to infiltrate in a friendly way throughout everything and everywhere, and make it easy to love Bitcoin too, because you do need like the support of a large, you know, what we've been calling, you know, the intransigent minority of Bitcoiners. 12 to 15 million people in the US gets you like 3 to 4%, and they can be noisy enough to sort of like tip society. But that's not just number of people with a Coinbase account. That's people that actually understand Bitcoin and will, like, you know, be vocal about it. If their local rep decides to try to co-sponsor a bill with Brad Sherman, they'll show up at the town hall meeting and make it difficult for that person, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. People always talk about focusing on the little guy and providing banking service to people that are disenfranchised. And I think that that's noble, and I think ultimately that will happen. But going back to Murad again, I think that the next wave of adoption will be higher socioeconomic class people who understand the financial system. They have a lot more to lose from a government who's going to start, you know, taking a couple of cookies out of the bank accounts. And so I think that the next wave, unfortunately, is going to be rich and powerful people. A lot of people we don't actually like or want to be associated with Bitcoin. You know, the Iranian prince would be a good example. And so that is a double-edged sword, right? It's a PR problem because that's going to be used against us in the narrative war. But at the same time, those type of people do wield a lot of power. And we want the congressmen, senators, and CEOs and quote 1%. We want all those people to be heavily invested in Bitcoin, because when push comes to shove, they're going to make a phone call, and that phone call might be really important in some legislation, in some anything, right? Their kids own Bitcoin. Why are they going to fight to get rid of it? Right. So we really do need to infiltrate the people that we're fighting against.
Yeah, the game theory gets super interesting. I think Pierre Rochard has talked a lot about that as well, where, you know, governments and these big corporate entities are, at the end of the day, just collections of individuals who want to act in their rational self-interest. And so if they don't really understand Bitcoin, then they won't be effective at attacking it. And if they're like at some institution that is chartered with attacking Bitcoin, and they as an individual start to understand it as part of that, then their incentive is, oh, maybe I should buy some. And then once they do that, then, you know, and their family owns it and they kind of spread the word, then, you know, do they still continue attacking it effectively? Yeah, that makes me optimistic about how this can play out.
So Stephen, Who are you giving Bitcoin to this holiday season?
Giving Bitcoin to my sister. Well, it's funny. So last Christmas, I tried to help my sister give Bitcoin via paper wallets to a bunch of friends, and it was a nightmare. And we tried that in 2017 as well, and that was like $30 per transaction. Made it clear that that was not going to be an effective way of doing that at the time. So there have been a couple Christmases of like attempting to give Bitcoin in painful ways. This Christmas, it's going to be a lot easier. Going to give Bitcoin to a couple friends here in Irvine, and my sister's husband as well, Tony, will be a recipient of some Bitcoin. And looking forward to, as much as I love Bitcoin, so far everyone I've ever onboarded, I'm kind of their IT person for it and their support person. And so it'll be nice to do it via Give Bitcoin this season and put some of that education on cruise control.
And now you just have to be like the IT support for thousands of people.
Yeah, exactly. It's made my Christmas giving so much more
much better. Have you tried the platform yet?
Yeah, I gave some to my wife, to my little sister.
Using Give Bitcoin? Nice, dude. Awesome. The wife Chapter 1 hits Wednesday.
Yeah.
A week from today.
Good.
And we have Safety on next Wednesday. So tease that. Bitcoin time. Dr. Safety, the toximalist himself, will be on the show next Wednesday.
Beautiful.
So how did it go?
So the wife is still dragging her feet on the KYC requirements.
Yeah, it sucks, but
like you also have to do this with your bank. So it's also forcing a conversation in our household on, okay, I have Bitcoin. And this is good for you too. Now it's your turn to slowly get the drip of education.
Yeah.
And hopefully that interests her more, right? Right now it's kind of like, that's your thing. And I support that. However, I don't really care.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that this will sort of sneaky red pill her one step at a time. And then my little sister, she did the KYC right away, and she exercised her gift. So
awesome.
Yeah, she's fired up about it. And I got her daughter, my sister's daughter. I'm giving her Bitcoin every year on her birthday. So right now I'm holding it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what I'll do for like a passing on a gift when you're old enough to process. But
well, we do have that. We have the sub accounts. Is the new float live?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So yeah, basically we actually are adding that to make it even simpler. It's always been possible on the back end to give to a guardian who kind of holds the account for the miner. But now we're actually having sub accounts where the miner is actually named and like legally it's theirs and the whole deal.
Amazing.
So that's like, I think this week or next week, which is
I'd have to check to make sure, but maybe like within the next 2 weeks kind of thing. Yeah.
So my fun story so far is obviously I gave some to my parents, and then my mom gave some to each of her two sisters in Texas. And one is a bit skeptical. She's the lawyer and creature of the system, sweetheart, but it's going to be a minute. The other one is always just like down for whatever and went nuts and like charged down the rabbit hole and started reading things on her own. And like, she went through my LinkedIn because, that's what my auntie is. She's down with LinkedIn, and
nice.
Then started like resharing, our Gary Leland video and like all this other thing, and has all this whole like conversation with boomers going on LinkedIn about Bitcoin right now. And she bought some for Christmas for all three of her sons and their wives and their kids, and like is spreading Bitcoin through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Carol on down. She's our new Bitcoin red pilling machine in the DFW area.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah, so go Aunt Carol.
Shout out to Carol.
LFG, Carol.
That brings up a good point though. You think about like the new Bitcoin companies that are spreading adoption through sneaky ways.
Oh my God,
like the Lolly and
Fold.
Yeah. Give, like those are so perfect. And you already have this ravenous Bitcoin base that wants to evangelize. And we've all ran, 60 miles an hour into the brick wall trying to convince our friends. We sound like crazy people. And now you have this way where you'd be stupid not to do these things, right? That's totally. A way different story than trying to convince someone that central bank monetary policy is not a good idea. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
But if you're like every time you shop online, a little browser extension gives you money, easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're sick of educating your no coiners, give them $100 and you're going to get educated. Those are massive.
And an even greedier way to do it is if you have some relatives that you would normally get presents from, just use Give Bitcoin to request Bitcoin from them for Christmas. To say, I don't want a sweater, Knicks suck, I don't want Knicks tickets. Like, just give me some Bitcoin, uncle or grandma or dad, mom, like give me some Bitcoin. And then they're gonna have a conversation about like, why do you want this like virtual currency thing? And can have this conversation, and they get the education too. The givers receive it every month alongside the new coiners that they've spawned, and so you have a chance to like red pill somebody by forcing them to give you Bitcoin.
Yeah, and there are kind of two things I like about that. A is like, I think with Give Bitcoin, it makes it a lot more practical, because if you asked for Bitcoin from people before, it's like, okay, they have to go sign up and figure out what a wallet and a transaction is, just a lot of stuff. So once it's a URL, you can hand them and just point click interface. That makes it a lot more practical. The second part is going back to what you just alluded to, Corey, of like showing how much you want Bitcoin. That's been a big thing with me that I feel like has made evangelism more successful for me in the last couple of years. Is like, rather than trying to go and like spray and pray little small gifts of Bitcoin around to people, which can still be good in some instances, just showing them like, like I'm all about trying to accumulate as much Bitcoin as I can before the rest of the world realizes how valuable this is. And so when they see that like that's what I want for special occasions or holidays, then gets them intrigued. They're like, why does this guy want this stuff so much? And kind of inspires them to do some reading.
Yeah, I love that. I also love that givers don't need to KYC. So you just like go on. It's like it's super fast. As a giver, like you just enter payment information. I think we'll have Plaid live in a couple of days, which means you just like log into your own bank account. So it's just getting easier and easier. Like it's an easy thing now to ask someone to give you Bitcoin.
Yeah, and in the instance where they do have to KYC, if they're on the receiving end, it's nice because they've already like, they've got some monetary, and it's like there's $20 worth of Bitcoin sitting there if they go through the process.
Who's that cheapskate? We like at least a hundo for a gift. We like hundos. Our outlier, so the max you can give is $5,000. Our outlier so far is we had an uncle give a niece and a nephew $4,500 each. So in the first 2 weeks, Uncle Blank, we won't blow your OPSEC, but that was pretty sick, and we appreciate you trusting the platform to do that for you.
Good stuff.
So what else should we? So we talked about savings a little bit. I don't mind teasing it a little bit. So we are officially going down the path of creating SaveBitcoin.app, and that is just a super simple way to set up weekly or monthly recurring purchases of Bitcoin for $1 amount that you set. So dollar cost average into Bitcoin, that will go live, I don't know, next few weeks. It's pretty simple for us to create that. We have the Rails built already. And so we'll probably start promoting that a little more heavily in January after we're through the Christmas rush. But if you're one of the people that make it this far, hit us up if you're interested in that. If you want to help out, you want to spread the word, happy to entertain offers of assistance with rolling that out and making it super noisy in January.
Yeah, I'm pretty jazzed about a product that, within the US, I don't think there's another good alternative for like regular recurring buys to DCA into Bitcoin. There's Coinbase, but I'm not a fan of Coinbase with their like guiding people with their educational material towards a bunch of shit coins, and having supported pretty much every like contentious fork bit of Bitcoin in the past, Bitcoin Unlimited, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Classic. So I'm very skeptical of them in general, and to have a new solution in the space is something I'm pretty stoked on.
Pretty easy to get behind, I think.
Definitely. It's the right way to acquire Bitcoin, at least right now. Either you earn it through some sort of an internet job, or maybe your employer's progressive, or you just do whatever you can there on Saturday.
Yeah, stacking stat Saturdays. Unless you're just filthy rich, in which case you should just take like a giant chunk of your money and just
Oh,
buy,
yeah.
just smash buy on a huge stack of it right
Yeah.
now. Bitcoin
Market
is on
buy.
sale. It has been Black Friday all of Q4. Bitcoin on sale, and you're going to be very happy. We believe, and this is totally investment advice. I believe, I can't know for sure, but I believe that Bitcoin is a better investment than definitely than OneCoin and Hex and all these other scams.
Oh man, yeah. World's better.
Anyway, well, I think we should probably wrap it up. This was awesome, Brandon. Thanks for coming on the show, and you're gonna have a fun day in Santa Monica, bouncing around, meeting some Bitcoiners. Steven, thanks for doing a great job with the Orange County Give Bitcoin holiday party yesterday. I saw the pictures, saw some videos, looked awesome.
Sweet. Yeah, we had a good time. Bummed I couldn't join you guys in the studio in person today for this discussion and do the handshake thing, Brandon, but super cool to have you on and be able to have this discussion.
Absolutely.
And then let's just remind everybody that Bitcoin 2020 is coming up in San Francisco. I believe it's the 24th and 25th. And then leading up to it's the 26th and 27th, I think, right? Yeah, Wednesday's the 25th, March 26th, 27th. And then the weekend before and the first couple of days of that week is LA Bitcoin Week, which is basically an unconference, but we're encouraging Bitcoiners from around the world. If you want to spend a few days like hanging with Bitcoiners by the beach and drinking and eating, and we're going to have some like official events and where you can, see panels and stuff like that. Trying to get Gary Leland and some of the OC people to do kind of like a Bitcoin for Boomers half day. So it should be a really fun week, and you don't have to dodge like human poop on the streets of San Francisco those few days until
nice plus.
The actual conference. Although we do have human poop on the streets in Venice, but you could just stay in Santa Monica and Century City and stuff, Beverly Hills instead. Anyway, all right. Let's wrap.
And I think actually, small note, I think it's 27th and 28th Friday. Is it a Friday, Saturday that Bitcoin 2020 spans?
I think it's Thursday, Friday, I believe, or maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Anyway.
Okay.
You know where to find the real details. There's also a BTC Pay Server focus day the day before. So if you have something to add to that community or can benefit from learning more about BTC Pay Server, reach out to the BTC media people. That's a closed private invite thing, but if you have a reason to be there, I'm sure they'll let you in.
Yeah, and they take Bitcoin and Lightning payments for tickets to Bitcoin 2020. And I'm not a guy who parts with Bitcoin easily, but that organization is good Bitcoiners, so it's a good reason.
They are indeed. Shout out to Happy Hour. We're a sponsor of the Happy Hour show as well, CK. Cool. Well, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, same time every week. Might take Christmas Day off, but next Wednesday we'll have Safe on, and we'll be celebrating. We will have sent that morning chapter 1 of the Gift of Bitcoin to our first cohort, the people that came on the platform and got gifts over the last few weeks since we went live, and I think that's a super exciting milestone. The education will be posted initially on our blog, and then we are creating a section on the website for it. And that is available for anyone and everyone to use wherever. Love attribution and a link back, but whatever, just educate Bitcoiners and newcoiners about Bitcoin. We don't care. There's actually, we got hit up on Twitter this morning by a Spanish guy who wishes that we were available in Europe already. And he's hacking together his own platform. Like just basically it's just Give Bitcoin in Spain for his friends and family, like a little private site.
Oh, and awesome.
Asked if it was cool if he used our education, and I said, yeah, sure, all good. Yeah, you can use our education for your friends and family. We'll get to Spain eventually.
Whatever's good for Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's great. Yeah. All right. So Brandon, thanks, man. Steven, great to see you, bud.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Great to see you both.
Number go up.
Bitcoin number go up indeed.
All right.
And next week, same Bitcoin time, same Bitcoin Twitter.
There you go. Damn, that was good.